All right, so get ready because we are diving into something a little different this time around. Um, Taking a look at Zen Buddhism.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We're going to be exploring Homeless Kodo. Have you ever heard of this one?
Yeah, Homeless Kodo. It's an interesting book. Um, it's about this Zen master, Kodo Sawaki, who some might say was a bit rebellious in his approach to Zen Buddhism.
Yeah, a little bit outside the box, right?
Yeah,
Like, just to give everyone a sense of how this book is put together, it's kind of cool. It's not just like straight up teaching. It's like we're getting Sawaki's own words alongside like commentary from his student Kosho Uchiyama.
yeah, you get that double perspective. It's like here's the wisdom straight from the source,
Right there.
and then you've got Uchiyama kind of like unpacking it, adding his own reflections.
Yeah, exactly. It's like two takes on Zen for the price of one.
I like that.
Right. And the thing is, even if someone listening is like, becoming a Zen monk, not really my thing, which honestly, I get it. This book still has so much thought-provoking stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's really a testament to Uchiyama. He wanted to take these teachings that were, often shared within a very specific monastic context and make them relevant to anyone searching for a true way of life, his words.
That really comes across. He wasn't trying to just like convert people to Buddhism. It was more about something universal. Like, how do we live more genuine, more meaningful life?
Exactly.
And okay, can we just talk about this title for a sec?
Sure.
Because Homeless Kodo, like when I first saw it, I was like, whoa, okay, that's a choice.
Yeah, it definitely grabs your attention.
It does, but there's a really powerful meaning behind it, right?
It wasn't just meant to be like edgy or anything. It really reflected Sawaki's choice to be this wandering teacher.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be tied down to a temple or any of that, traditional religious structure.
Yeah, it's like he wanted to meet people where they were at, literally just traveling around and sharing his wisdom.
Exactly. And it wasn't always easy. Uchiyama talks about his own training and how he even resorted to begging for food at times to truly understand what it meant to rely on others.
That's intense. And that experience, like actually begging, it led him to this really interesting observation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he talks about how he was, get this, threatened by a dog, a chained up Spitz, while he was out begging.
Wow.
Right, but like all bark and no bite,
Yeah.
But then he observed something really interesting. When that chain was gone, total wimp.
Wow.
And it got him thinking about how we see that same pattern in people.
Interesting.
Like when someone has all this stuff backing them up, money, status, whatever, they can appear really powerful, but take that away.
And facade crumbles.
Totally. Suddenly they're not so sure of themselves. And you see that theme so much in Homeless Kodo, like how much of what we perceive as strength, as power, is really just like tied to these external things.
It really makes you question what we're left with when we strip all that away. What's our source of strength then?
That's a good question. And I think that's what Sawaki is really pushing us to examine. Where do we find our true refuge?
Yeah. Is it our possessions, our achievements, what other people think of us? Or is it something deeper, something we find within ourselves that can't be given or taken away?
And that's really the heart of what Homeless Kodo is all about.
That inner stability, finding that place of peace within ourselves, regardless of what's happening around us.
Yeah, that's a powerful concept. I love that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really appreciate about Sawaki's teaching style, at least the way it comes across in the book, is that he doesn't shy away from like shaking things up a bit.
Oh, absolutely. He had this way of cutting through the BS.
Yes. He'll use these really funny, almost like shocking observations about daily life to kind of like wake you up to these bigger truths.
He was a master of using the mundane to illuminate the profound.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. For example, he was really critical of like the education system, especially how it focuses on just like memorizing stuff and competition.
Oh, yeah. He felt it missed the point of developing true character. Like it was missing the forest for the trees.
Totally. And he talks about this group stupidity of just blindly chasing progress and material wealth. And God, that hit home for me.
I feel like that's something that still resonates today. Maybe even more so.
Right. Like it's more relevant than ever. There's this one part where he compares, get this, he compares people chasing paychecks to dogs chasing a piece of meat dangling from a cart.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. It's a bit jarring, but it really makes you think.
It's like you're always working, always striving just to get that little taste of reward, and then bam, the chase starts all over again. I don't know about you, but...
Oh, I felt that in my soul.
Right. It's like, oof, yeah, that's uncomfortably accurate.
I think that analogy is even more powerful when you consider the time period when Sawaki was teaching. post-World War II Japan, right?
Yeah, that's true. It was such a time of rebuilding, a massive societal change.
Exactly, and this huge push for economic growth. And here's Sawaki,
Hmm.
who had seen firsthand the devastation caused by blind faith in ideologies, the futility of war.
Wow, yeah.
He was urging people to look deeper, to question these societal pressures, not just blindly accept them as the way things are.
That's such an important point. Like, it's not just about criticizing society to be cool or rebellious. It's about recognizing how those external forces can really shape us.
And often keep us tethered to a certain way of life, a very specific definition of success.
Yeah, and maybe, just maybe, there's another way. And this is where I feel like all of this ties back to that idea of homelessness that we were talking about earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about being physically homeless, right? It's about letting go of clinging to external validation.
Right, finding that true refuge within ourselves, that inner stability.
Yeah. And man, some of his sayings, they just like hit you right between the eyes with this idea.
He was very direct.
There's one I wanted to bring up. It's like, when religious groups attract crowds and build elaborate structures, many people begin to believe these institutions are true religions. The genuineness of a religion does not depend on how many believers it has.
It's easy to get caught up in outward appearances, right?
Easy.
But Sawaki's reminding us that true faith, true understanding, it comes from within. It's not about the size of the building or how many people are in the pews.
It's about that personal connection, that inner knowing.
Exactly. That's where the real work is.
So we've talked about this whole homelessness thing, like letting go of needing all that external validation, but how do we actually, do that? That's where zazen comes in, right?
Yeah, definitely. Zazen, the practice of seated meditation, it really is central to Zen Buddhism. But I think it's important to clarify that zazen, the way Sawaki taught it, it's not always what people picture when they think about meditation.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, because whenever I hear meditation, I think, empty your mind. And honestly, good luck with that. My brain never shuts off.
Right. Easier said than done.
Totally. So if it's not about stopping your thoughts completely, what's the point? What are we actually doing with zazen?
It's more about shifting your relationship to those thoughts.
Yeah.
Instead of getting so swept up in them, you learn to observe them almost like you're watching them from a distance.
Huh. Interesting.
Uchiyama actually uses this really cool image to describe it. He says, to practice zazen is to become the transparent self.
Oh, I like that, the transparent self. So it's like those thoughts, they're still there, but they're just passing through. You're not getting so caught up in them.
Exactly. You're letting them go. And as you do that, it creates this opening for a different kind of awareness to emerge,
Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Uchiyama also compares zazen to, get this, vomiting the apple we ate before.
Whoa. Okay, that's a visual. What's with the apple?
It's a metaphor. The apple represents all those ingrained habits, those reactive patterns that we've picked up over time, the stuff that kind of keeps us stuck.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So zazen, it helps us to see those patterns more clearly and then, crucially, to create some space from them.
So it's like we're using meditation not just to relax, although that's probably nice too, but to actually break down those conditioned responses that keep us in these loops of unhealthy thinking and behavior.
Exactly. We're getting unstuck.
I like it.
And the amazing thing is, as we do this work on ourselves, as we cultivate that, transparent self, we start to tap into something way bigger than our individual ego.
Oh, interesting.
There's this beautiful line from Uchiyama. He says, zazen is the way we tune in to the whole universe.
There's that universe connection again. So we're talking about letting go of our tight grip on the self. And through that, we actually open up to a way of being that's more expansive, more connected to everything around us.
Yeah, it's a big concept, but a really powerful one.
For sure. It reminds me a bit of that story Uchiyama tells about having this realization while he was looking at tulips. Remember that part? He was just struck by how all these different colors and shapes and sizes, it was all coming from the same earth.
It's such a great story.
Even a tiny little flower is part of this huge web of life, drawing energy from the sun, the air, everything. It really drives home that interconnectedness.
It does. And I think that's ultimately what Homeless Kodo is encouraging us to remember. That true refuge, true peace of mind. It doesn't come from clinging to these external things.
Yeah, it comes from cultivating that inner connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Yes. Exactly.
I love that. This whole conversation has been so insightful. I'm really glad we dove into Homeless Dodo.
Me too. It's really got some gems in there.
It does. It does. And I have to admit, I wasn't sure what to expect going in, but I'm walking away with a lot to think about.
Yeah. What are some of your biggest takeaways?
Well, that idea of embracing a little homelessness, and I don't mean that literally, of course, but just letting go of those rigid ideas about who we are and what will make us happy, like maybe that's the key to a more genuine, more fulfilling life.
It's definitely an invitation to approach life with a little more openness, a little less clinging.
Yes, absolutely. So, for everyone listening, maybe Homeless Kodo will spark your curiosity to learn more about Zen Buddhism, which, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Or even if you're just like, you know what, Zen's not really my thing, maybe it'll get you thinking. What are you holding on to a little too tightly?
Yeah.
What might be holding you back from experiencing more freedom, more peace of mind in your own life?
That's a great question to sit with.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's safe to say that Kodo Sawaki's wisdom, even though it's, a bit unconventional, maybe even a little rebellious at times, it definitely still has a lot to offer us today.
Absolutely. It's a timeless message, really.
It is. It is. Well, on that note, thank you all for joining us for this deep dive into Homeless Kodo. We'll catch you next time.